This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
La aventura tiene un nuevo nombre, Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Con la Rogue Rock Creek estarás listo para conquistar el camino que venga. Si es una ruta rocosa, tienes llantas todoterreno. Ante una gran bajada, control para descenso inclinado y su parrilla tubular para techo, lista para lo que necesites. Cuando la vida te ofrece aventura, tú tienes la Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. La capacidad de carga está limitada por el peso y la distribución. Siempre asegure la carga. Cargar el vehículo con mucho peso, especialmente en el techo, afectará el manejo y la estabilidad del vehículo.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Are you married? Are you a female or are you a male who are currently married without children? If you fit the description of a male or a female who are married that don't have any children, you've got to listen to tonight's show. You know, I'm exploring the societal and the social pressures as well as the family pressures and the personal pressure and stress that we put on ourselves by not having children. I think a lot of you can understand exactly what I'm talking about. I've recently had a lot of communication with a lot of people out there recently, some women, some men, that are priceless conversations about what? About being married without children and being stressed out by people asking too many questions. Let's talk about that. Let's begin to talk a little bit about the societal pressures. You know, I think one of the things that a lot of people get asked, so you're married, you all don't have any kids? And that's always an interesting question because you're like, how do you freaking answer this question? No, I don't have any kids. And why did you have inflection on that? Kids. Like, why wasn't it, oh, you're married, you don't have kids. That's cool. It's more like, so you're married and you don't have kids. What about the, is something wrong? Have y'all been tested? Has she been tested? Have you been tested? Have y'all been tested? Have y'all been tested together? Have y'all gone in and have the test done, the blood work done? Oh, have you had your sperm checked? You know, I know one thing, though. I know that if you wear, you always got this one person telling you this. If you wear, I hope you're not wearing briefs now. Now, I know that briefs are all the rage now, but boxers is where it's at. You know, even commando really is really where it should be if you want to get your wife pregnant, you know. What about there's always adoption. Really? I didn't know that you could adopt any children. I didn't know that was an option. I mean, it's like, the grass is green. I just figured that out yesterday. I sold my entire house and bought an RV, and I'm traveling the world around because I found out that the grass is green, and I found out that there is a thing called adoption. Holy hand grenades, Superman. What are we going to do now? What about have y'all tried in vitro? I know it's expensive, but have y'all tried in vitro yet? I think it's interesting, too, because as a part of society who believes that marriage is really only for the source of procreation. How really marriage is all about procreation and having children, and there's really not a lot out of it. So if you're going to be married, why the hell are you married and you don't have kids? I mean, that means that you actually like that person. You want to actually spend time with them. Like, what the heck is this about? it's like some sort of foreign place, you know? It's like a planet from outside the solar system. You must be aliens in some sort of human-looking skin outer shell, and we don't really understand what's going on. In the meantime, we're just going to assume there's something wrong with your mechanical insides that's making it where you can't have children. You know, I think that's the thing that gets a lot of us married folk that don't have any children. When you get that question asked, I think it's that assumption. It's that solid assumption that it's not that you have put it off. It's not that you have other pressing things. There's none of that thought to it. Really, the assumption is that you can't have children. Because there's something wrong with you. Because otherwise, if there was nothing wrong with you, you'd have kids because you're married. Because why else do you get married? I had a guy a couple months ago. It was pretty funny. We're always in the radio business and in the podcasting business. You know, sponsors come to you, and then a lot of people come to you to sell your time, your inventory, really. And I had a gentleman call me up and said he was going to help me sell my inventory, and I was like, great. And he's like, so are you married? I go, sure am. He's like, how long? I said, 12 years. Oh, well, that's great. That's great. And I'm thinking, when are we going to start talking about the sales of the inventory? But I let it go. You know, it's small talk, and I like everybody getting to know each other. You know, I think it's good to know a little bit about people's family, and I like to know I like to know things about people because I care. And I think when you care, you do like to know things, and you're more apt to open up because, you know, you're just like, okay, hey, you know, they just want to know a little bit more about me. And I said, yeah, I've been married for 12 years. Oh, well, that's great. That's great. How long have y'all been together total? I was like, 14. Wow, that's a long time. He's like, you look pretty good for that. I was like, well, yeah, I got married at a pretty early age. And he's like, so, y'all had to get married for the kids, huh? You got pregnant? And I was like, no. Oh, okay. Well, y'all just started having kids at an early age. I go, no, not. No. So, how many kids do you have? I don't have any children. If you're only counting human babies, at this time I have no children. If you're counting pets like fur babies, like dogs, well then I have one child. And I was kind of making a joke about it. And he was like, so wait a second, you've been married for 12 years, together for 14 with the same dude, and you don't have any kids? And I go, yeah, that's it. As I'm still thinking, when are we going to talk about the inventory sales? And he goes, that's bonehead. That's stupid. And I go, excuse me? I go, hey, I've been cool with this whole line of questioning for a long time now. But why is it stupid again? And he's like, because, you know, marriage is all about having babies. If you're not having babies with somebody, you might as well have a free-for-all. Go have as much sex as you want with other people. I mean, you've confined yourself in a corner. And he's like, and that's why I'm never getting married. Because I'm never going to have kids, and I don't need to get married. I'm going to go from each and every woman. I'm going to meet a bunch of different women, and I'm going to sow my oats. And I'm like, okay, this is great. We never talked about sales, and we never worked together. God bless him. But however, the fact is that why can't you be married to someone and not have children? Why can't I choose to be married to somebody and not have children at the time? I mean, I'm not allowed to just have fun in the marriage. I'm not allowed to grow in the relationship. We're not allowed to grow ourselves. And I think a lot of tendency, there's a large group of people and a large group of society based on societal pressure that people feel that this is the plan. Like you get born one day, your mom and dad, you know, they have you or whoever has you, and, you know, 9 months later you're born, and when you're able to actually sign your name on something, they give you a contract, you know, in the baby bed, your bassinet or whatever. I mean, I guess you'd be a freaking genius if you could sign your name when you're like 5 months. But anyway, some of you might be. You might be a Mensa child. So let's just say you're Mensa, and mom and dad give you a sheet of paper that says, I, Ashley Burgess, will get married by the age of XYZ, or XY, really, let's just say 20 years old, 22 years old, and I'm going to have 3 children. I'm going to have 3 children 18 months apart because that's how you're supposed to do it. That's how the real winners have it. I'm going to have 3 children, 18 months apart, right? I'm going to name them all very cool, very deep, thoughtful names. And then when the last child becomes 17 and goes off to college, me and the husband are going to talk for the first time. We're either going to find out, 1, we have nothing in common. 2, we haven't spoken in a while, and so this is odd. Or 3, let's go sell the house in the suburbs and let's buy a cute little sexy condo downtown. And then we'll live out the rest of our golden years going to Vegas and just being just crazy kids all over again. And that's fine. But I never signed that contract. And I'm not saying I'm not Mensa. I just never signed that contract. And I feel like we as a society believe that we've already had to sign this contract. And I believe that's where societal pressure comes from. You know, I have some friends that get married. And they marry these women because, they're good women and they think that they're going to be good mothers. But these same guys are out philandering all the time. Philandering. That means having sex with people that aren't your wife or your husband, philandering around, which is, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not throwing stones. But I'm saying that they see a reason for the marriage and then they see a reason to have fun outside of it. You know, and so it's basically like kind of an unconditional, maybe an understood rule. I mean, some of you out there are married and you have great marriages and you have children. And we're not talking about y'all because you don't really care that other people don't have children. You're not over there like, questioning, wondering, analyzing. You're not doing my job basically on your friends. You know what I mean? Like no friend wants a self-appointed therapist to ask them questions. Now, if they come into my office and they sign a confidentiality agreement and we have their entire...
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
La aventura tiene un nuevo nombre, Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Con la Rogue Rock Creek estarás listo para conquistar el camino que venga. Si es una ruta rocosa, tienes llantas todoterreno. Ante una gran bajada, control para descenso inclinado y su parrilla tubular para techo, lista para lo que necesites. Cuando la vida te ofrece aventura, tú tienes la Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. La capacidad de carga está limitada por el peso y la distribución. Siempre asegure la carga. Cargar el vehículo con mucho peso, especialmente en el techo, afectará el manejo y la estabilidad del vehículo.
Medical background and history, and they've explained all the medication they're on and all the issues that we're dealing with. And that's fine because they've come into my area, my stratosphere, really, to discuss their stuff that's on their mind. But nobody wants a self-appointed psychologist that's really not one, that's supposed to be their friend, analyzing why... If so-and-so is not married, why in God's green creation they don't have children? And I think it's interesting because, we call marriage an institution, really. The institution of marriage. And to me, have you ever been in love with an institution? I mean, I've been in love with some bad boys. I've been in love with some cars. I love cars sometimes. I've been in love with a house. I've been in love with a couch. But I have never been in love in or with an institution. And I think that's where a lot of people are headed, is they consider it an institution. They bind by the rules of the institution. They give an obligation of a ring. There's no more goats being traded, at least in the United States at this time, for marriage, for a hand in marriage. However, that was a way of doing it back in the day. Goats and cows and sheep and geese and all that good stuff. And I think that we kind of lose sight that the marriage is supposed to have some passion. It's supposed to be a friendship. And it's supposed to be like a love. And I like the fact that you can grow with or without children. And I know for a lot of you singles out there, or a lot of you married, no children, feel that a lot of y'all's folks, some of your friends of yours that have kids that are married, do it because, they're trying to save the marriage. When was the last time you had a friend who called you on the phone and said, I think the only way to save my marriage is to have a child? And from my therapist's point of view, from everything that I know, that usually doesn't work that well. It usually entangles the situation even more, creates even more of an issue, and becomes a problematic situation where the child is stuck in the middle and there's a battle. And then eventually there's a custody hearing and there's a divorce hearing and you have all this stuff. And then the child goes and sees the mom, lives with the mom, sees the dad, or if, occasionally in a rare blue moon, the father gets full custody and the mother gets to see him on weekends and sometimes with, with somebody actually being there with them. And so it's a very interesting scenario. And I also think there's another sidebar. And I'm not ripping on all married people, don't get me wrong. I'm ripping on the people right now, just making a little point of view of people that have really gotten into the societal pressures and pressure other people. So I think it's all that concept of married people who want other married people to have children. It's like they want to talk you into children because they're like, man, I did it. And I've been there before, and it's not been about the children thing. It's been about other things, and I want to explain. I've bought something before. I've gotten into a business operation before where, I'm hoping I made the right choice. And so it's kind of like I'm defending my choice, and I'm wanting you to choose the same choice. And if you choose the same choice, guess what? You just validated me. Yay! I got validation because I did the right thing. I did the right thing. Woohoo! Yeah! I did the right thing. And I have married friends that do that too. They're like, when you plan on having that kid? It's time's ticking, clock's ticking. It's like, why you got to tell me I'm getting old? You know what I mean? Well, why don't I just tell you look tired? Don't you love that? Instead of sleepy. I love that one. The old, you look tired. You're like, dude, you couldn't have said I look sleepy for God's sakes. What's wrong with you? But the same thing applies. It's like, time's ticking away. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Don't have your whole life, do you? What are you going to do? It's like, you know what? Okay, I woke up today. Now I'm just going to go back home and go to bed. There's no reason to be out here. There's no reason to live. And then you think about it and you go, okay. But the thing is that it's really not about them trying to harass you. It's not about them wanting to hurt your feelings. It's about them wanting you to have children because they think that that's what you need to do. Okay? That's what you have to do. That's the crux of it. That's the A to B here, right? That's the A to B. A to B. That's funny. That's my initials, A to B. It's all A to B here on Perspectives. By the way, if you're listening to the show and you like it, and you're liking what you're hearing, go on to hashtag LYTL, live your true life, because Perspectives, the reason why I designed this show is to help people find their purpose, help people have clarity, consciously understand, ask the questions that nobody else asks, answer those questions to help you, the listener, and to help you, the coolest person on the planet, live your true life. So if you like the show, go on and hashtag LYTL, live your true life, and tell me how you're living your true life because I want to know. If you have an idea for a show as well, hashtag LYTL because I want to know, because I want to address it, because you matter. So I really feel that it comes down to the whole defending of the choice, wanting you to choose the same choice, and then bingo, validation. What do we have for them, Johnny? Well, you know what? We have a boatload of validation because they just had children too, and so we're not the only ones. Yeah. So what about the next pressure? Because societal pressure also doesn't just pressure you, the married without the children, but guess who else it pressures? It pressures your parents. Your parents are under constant threat, okay? They're under constant threat from other people's parents. Like the bullying doesn't stop in elementary school, right? It goes all the way up to your deathbed, probably, when you think about it. Like at least the pressure bullying, you need to do this, you need to do that. God bless it. Bless your heart and soul if you haven't done this by now. You're going to die a sad, sad person. Nobody's going to be able to pull you out of that funk and you're going to die depressed and lonely. It's like, my God. I mean, really? So the next thing I want to talk about is parental pressure. Parental pressure. Oh, God. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about parental pressure and the fact that they need grandkids. When are you going to give me a grandkid, honey? Sweetheart, now I'm not trying to get down on you or anything, but, your mother and I would really like you to have some children. Because your mother really wants grandkids, and that's all I hear. Seriously. Think about it. When your parents are out hanging out with their friends, right? Their friends have kids that have kids. So there's something wrong with your parents' kids. There's something wrong with you. So this is how it goes down. The other day, it was funny. I was talking to some of my friends, and they said that they've been married for 15 years. They got married at a young age. And, she's still able to have children, but they haven't had any. And she said she was talking to her mom the other day, and her mom said, honey, when are you thinking about when y'all thinking about having some kids? And she's like, really? You're going to pressure me on this again? She's like, really? I mean, y'all have been married since high school. And we've all just been anticipating the fact that y'all were going to have some kids. And, Joanne and Mike, they had the grandkids at the house the other day, and they just love those grandkids. Mike was just having so much fun. He was like acting like a kid again. I've never seen Mike's like 60 years old, and man, that guy just loves grandkids. We would really like to have some before we can't pick them up anymore. You think he could do that for us? Talk about pressure. Your parents want you to have kids for them before they can't pick the kids up anymore. I mean, don't you feel bad enough about not having kids? You're going to make your parents wait until they can't pick up the grandkids anymore? Son of a bitch. Seriously. And you know what? That's the kind of parental pressure that you go through because you're over there going, man, oh, God, I didn't know this meant this much to my parents. And does it mean that much to your parents, or is it that they're being bullied by their friends and feeling bad and feeling guilty that they don't have any grandkids? They don't fit in. They can't fit in with the cool kids with the grandkids, right? And some of you would argue that it's the other way around, but I think their friends have the grandkids and they want them. I like it, too, when you hear, like, a mother, why do you hate us? Do you really hate us, honey? Why aren't you going to give us some grandkids? I mean, do you hate us that bad? Did we raise you like that? Are you really upset with us? But you know what's funny is that it boils down to it's not really societal pressure, right? I mean, a lot of us would say, yeah, the societal pressure is pretty bad, and I'll give you that. But it's kind of a basis of how our society was built, and it's not really the people in the society that's the jackasses. It's really the whole formulation, right? Your parents reap the non-benefits of being asked where the grandkids are, so they get pressure too. So when they get pressure, where do you feel that this pressure is going to slide to, right? Where do you feel like it's going? Where's the next step? Okay, the next step, the buck stops here. Bingo, pressure goes to you. Because now your parents have heard enough about the grandkids and about how Jim has the grandkids and about how Joyce and Jolene are so happy with their grandkids, how the grandkids are coming to visit tomorrow night. They're doing a sleepover. What are y'all doing? Oh, well, I don't know. We don't have grandkids. Oh, kids can't, daughter can't get pregnant. Is that it? Oh, is their marriage on the rocks? Their marriage on the rocks? Is that what it is? They don't want to bring kids in? Marriage on the rocks? Mm-hmm. Seriously, think about what all they...
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to TalkSpace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at TalkSpace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at TalkSpace.com.
La aventura tiene un nuevo nombre, Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Con la Rogue Rock Creek estarás listo para conquistar el camino que venga. Si es una ruta rocosa, tienes llantas todoterreno. Ante una gran bajada, control para descenso inclinado y su parrilla tubular para techo, lista para lo que necesites. Cuando la vida te ofrece aventura, tú tienes la Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. La capacidad de carga está limitada por el peso y la distribución. Siempre asegure la carga. Cargar el vehículo con mucho peso, especialmente en el techo, afectará el manejo y la estabilidad del vehículo.
Here. I mean, really. So that pressure, everything's got to roll downhill. And so guess what? There you are. And the real pressure becomes ourselves, right? So for everybody out there, you getting what I'm feeling is that if you're married and you don't have kids, it really isn't about society. It really isn't about your married friends pressuring you. It's really not about your parents pressuring you to have grandkids. God bless it. Why can't you do it? It's really about our own personal pressure. Because I feel that in order to feel good about being married without children, I feel like it takes a mind change. It takes a mindset change. It takes you to actually look at life in a different way. It takes you to actually go outside of our mental brain box and accept the fact that you don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing because you don't have to do it. And I think it causes you, because it's so hard to get out of that mainstream thought process, that it can cause you to question yourself, to not know what to do. Are you doing the right thing by not having the kids? Are you waiting too long? Are you taking a chance? Are you basically playing the slot machine with your life? Have you thought it through? Are you being too selfish to not have children? What's the reason? Are you trying to be a corporate woman and this is just asinine? Is that it? Are you going outside the box? Are you doing the opposite of everybody in your family? Is everybody in your family got kids and you're the only sibling that doesn't have any? Where do we go wrong? And you don't know what to do, because one of the questions that you're going to ask yourself and you're going to think about, I've thought about it. I'm sure some of you have thought about this. I wish that I could see your hands raised, but I can feel it. And I have x-ray vision as well. No, I'm just kidding. And I feel that you might connect with this. Without having children, we wonder, will we be alone? Will we be alone for our entire life with no kids to take care of us in our old age? Alone, kidless, nobody to take care of us. We'll be elders, schlepping down the street with no children to open the door for us. But you have to sit there and wonder, how many children really, come on. Kids are going to, we're not really in China, are we? Just assumption on that one. I know that was a blanket assumption and kind of funny, actually, for most people. But you know what? Honestly, how many? Most of the time, kids actually end up having their own life by the time that you need their help. They might already be married, have careers, moved away, moved out of state. They could already have their own kids. What time do they have for mom and dad? And I'm sure they'll make time, but really, they'd be there for you, but is it really a deal changer? And I know that kids can really help. And so the other question that you ask, and I know this gets extreme because these are the things that I think about. Not all the time, but when it comes to big issues, you got to think about it from all sides. What if I lose my spouse dies? I got no one. I don't even have any kids. What am I going to do then? And I think you have to look at it, look at life and go, wait a second. You have some friends, right? Friends are pretty good. You got something. But I understand you don't have any kids to say they're my kids. And I get that. And that's something that I think about. That's something I think about because, I like the idea of being able to, have family. And I wouldn't want to be the only one just still, still staying in there. I don't know. But it's something to think about. And so I feel that a lot of times we're thinking about extreme stuff like this. Extreme stuff like this. And when somebody asks you, why don't you have kids, it just freaking pisses you off. You've already been thinking about it, hashing it, rehashing it, wondering if you're making the right choice. Make a decision, and there you are. You got some person asking you why you don't have children. And it's funny how a lot of people ask that question, and they act like it's just going to be this easy breezy, like 2-word answer. And it's not. And it's very personal. And for some of you, you know, it might not be that personal, but to me, I feel like it's almost a flippant question asked with a question that's kind of that deep. I mean, for women and men both, this is a very deep question to ask. Do you want kids? If you don't have them, are you happy with that? If you have them, are you happy with that? These are deep questions. This is not something just to like, whatever happens. And I think that, you know, in the process, we have to begin to do something that's important. I think that we have to make and create a written down honest evaluation. I said honest. You heard the word honest, right? Honest evaluation of how you feel about kids. Get out a notebook, a piece of paper right now at this point. If you're not listening in the car, even if you are, maybe you can be ambidextrous, do a lot of things. You probably are able to chew gum and rub your belly and listen to the podcast at the same time. So I feel that you're pretty strong at this. Most of you are Mensa, so get on this right now. Honest evaluation. Okay. Begin with, do you want children or do you not want children? I know this is a straight question. It's not like a lot of mystery. Nobody's behind any corner about to jump out at you. This is a straight question. Do you want to have children? I'm not saying when or how. Do you want to have children or do you not want to have children? Okay. Not how, not when, not with who, none of that. Just do you want them or do you not? Okay. Not how many. Okay, so once you figure that question, you figure that answer to that question, because that's going to be a big one. And for some of you, this might be stuff that you can't answer right now, so I would write down on the top of the paper, do I want children? Question mark. Next question, do I not want children? Question mark. Okay. The next thing, if you don't want children, fully write out the reasons why you don't want them. Full explanation of why. Bullet points are fine, but full explanation. If you want children, on the other angle, be sure, write down why exactly you want children. Explanation, bullet points, all are accepted. They're all acceptable options. Okay, so there you are. You figured out one, why you do or you don't. Not that you can't, or not that, none of that. Just do you want them, do you not? And then why you don't want them or why you do want them. So that's pretty clear and to the point. The next one, let's just say if you can't have children. If you can't have children, right? But you want them. I would begin to look at all options. Start writing down your options. Start searching on the web. Start looking at options as adoption, as if your eggs are viable, if your wife's eggs are viable, if your sperm is fine, start looking for a surrogate, maybe a friend, maybe adoption. It's a lot of options, okay? Adoption's great too. Write down those options. What about if you can have children and you want them, but you can't afford a child right now? And you really see having a child in your future and you really want a kid. Well, you know what your next step is? Is to plan for what and when you're going to have that child. Give yourself a timeline, because you got to have a timeline. If you want children, but you can't have it because of money, definitely you need to give yourself a timeline, figure out when, and give yourself a timeline. Say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and me and your significant other agree to it. Perfect. Last but not least, if you're still not sure, and you're on the fence, because you have a lot of responsibilities, family, career, all that stuff. It's not a bad deal to shelf the idea and come back to it in 6 months. I mean, think about it. It's really not an age thing anymore. I mean, we're living longer. We have more medicines. There's options for in vitro. Women are having babies way later on in life. There is adoption. There's surrogacy. There is a lot of options out there. So the age does not really matter that much. Even if in vitro is too late on age, even though maybe your eggs aren't still viable, maybe you've gone into menopause, you can still adopt a child. Okay? You can have somebody have a kid for you. So what I'm saying is that the not sure, still on the fence, your boat hasn't sailed yet. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I know that societal pressures were going to pressure you because it's supposed to feel like it's the end of the world, but no. And if that's the case and you know that, then you have ammo the next time somebody asks you, well, you're married, but you don't have kids. Is something wrong with y'all? Is not everything's working down there? Is it him or is it you? Is it him? There's always a...
Rose is your name, but when you poop it sure don't smell like roses. Your number 2 burns the hair in my nose, but we fought hand in paw. Now your poop don't stink at all. Now that the air is clear, I'll treasure your front and rear, my sweet Rose.
Instantly neutralize poop stink with Poop Fighter from World's Best Cat Litter for the world's best cat.
Adoption. So, I'm going to give a few pieces of Ashley Burgess perspectives, #LYTL advice. When somebody asks you a question like that, try not to get angry. Try not to get angry. Try not to get mad. Try not to be insulted. Instead, realize that, honestly, they're just asking a question because they don't know any better. And it's like they want to pry. They want to pry. I mean, yes, that's part of society to some degree. But in the same counterpart, if they have kids and they're married, they want to know why you don't. What's so special about you? Try not to look at it from a deficit and try to see it more as a positive. It's more like a scientific experiment, really. It's like you're behind glass and they want to know what makes you tick. Why? How? Interesting. The next thing you want to think about when dealing with these situations is that when somebody asks you, and especially if you're still deciding, you can say that. It's okay to say that. And I feel that being honest is the best policy unless you feel like the person doesn't deserve it. But I do feel that being honest is the best policy. I've had a lot of clients come in and I've asked them about, if they're going to have children. And their normal response is, I don't like children. I say, really? You don't like children? They go, no, gosh, I just got so over people asking me that. I go, yeah, but I'm your therapist. And they go, I do love children, but I don't want to explain it to everybody. And so I understand, but I think being honest with somebody is great. And I think even being more honest and explaining the fact that, hey, I get it. When somebody asks you that, go, hey, I get it. I know it's societal pressures, and I know that you're married and you got kids, and you want to know why I don't have kids and I'm married. And I get it, but right now, you know what? I'm working on this, and that. And I'm thinking about it, and when it's going to happen, it's going to happen, but I'm not worried about it. And usually, when you fully understand and you've made that honest evaluation and you know about life and you know what you want to do, your response is golden because it's authentic. And that authentic response, there is no counter attack to that authentic response. A counter attack to an authentic response is somebody that doesn't deserve anything. When someone tries to counterattack your authentic response, i.e., authentic response examples, well, we're thinking about it. We haven't given up on it, but we just don't know exactly what we want to do at this time. Another example, we're financially trying to make enough money to save so that we can have a child and not be in complete debt. Another example, you know what? I don't really know if I want to have children, and I want to make an educated decision and make sure that I choose correctly because I don't want to make a mistake. Another authentic comment, you know what? I have a career that I'm really working on, and it means a lot to me, but it's also a lot of work, and I'm working 16-hour days. And I just don't think that's fair to a child right now, but maybe things might change. It's amazing what an authentic response can do. And even though, even to start a conversation about societal pressures, parental pressures. And if you'd like to, you can even begin to have this conversation with your parents and explain to them that you really respect them and you know that their friends have grandkids and you understand that their friends ask them when you're going to have kids, so when they're going to have grandkids, and say, hey, I know that you might be pressured about it, or I know that you really want it, but right now I got to make sure that I make the right choice because you're not going to be there 24/7 to bail me out of a decision that I made that wasn't good. This is something I have to take on for a lifetime, not necessarily you. And they'll totally get that. And, also, too, this honesty is so amazing because people, if you tell them, hey, look at it from a different direction. Don't look at it as prying. Look at it as though they care. And I think when we start looking at things from a different perspective, even though maybe some of them are prying, but it allows you to change your reaction. You no longer react in a negative manner. You react in a positive manner from a place of a place that you feel connected, a place that you feel safe, a caring, nurturing place. And so when you respond to that caring and nurturing person, you respond in a different way than you would have if you felt like they were badgering you or questioning you for not having children. And I know that this show is very funny, and I know that there's a lot of humor, and I know that y'all probably laughed a lot about this because you know what? If you've gone through this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And to use that humor in your life is so amazing, and that's one of the things that I would love you to take away from this show is that, think about it. And when the next time somebody asks you a question like that, think about this. Think about it in a humoristic standpoint. Realize it's not the end of the world. Realize you have choices. Realize there is no timeline and the clock isn't really ticking. I mean, it's really not ticking because if it's just about the idea of having a child, it doesn't have to be your child. Okay? I mean, it's really not ticking. You know what is ticking? Is like the rambling in your mind. You have to let things go and you have to think things out for yourself because nobody's going to be there to take the burden. Nobody's going to be there to say, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have kids. Or nobody's going to be able to say, well, if you would have just given one more year on that career, you would have hit exactly where you wanted to. And in 5 years, you could have had a child and you could have had the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, for y'all out there who are working and working really hard, I understand it can be tough because you're having to make a decision right now. A decision to not have children because it's the career, or it's the financial, it's the other responsibilities. And I understand. And in that situation, I urge you to really think about what you want. And I urge you to pursue your dreams, and I urge you to pursue your purpose. And I urge you to even take a step further and start realizing purpose. And purpose is greater than a lot of things that we think it is. And maybe your purpose is to have children. Maybe your purpose is to find the cure for cancer. Maybe your purpose is to make someone smile. Maybe your purpose is to help a child. Maybe your purpose is to help the elderly. Maybe your purpose is to inspire. However, as women, I feel that there's more to life than just having children, and I think that that's an awesome part of being a woman. However, I think there's some other women out there that might not necessarily be their direction. And for you out there that might not necessarily be your direction, that's okay. That's totally okay. That's even more than okay. That is great. That is fine because you know that that's not part of your direction, and that's okay. And you know what's so cool about it is you know ahead of time. You know before making the mistake. You know before having that and going, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. And I think that you'd be fine with it. But I think that some of us and some people are supposed to do something else. And I don't think everybody's supposed to have children. I don't think everybody's supposed to conform to this specific format, this specific mold. okay? You're more than a mold. You're a unique individual with a unique purpose. You have a purpose that nobody else has the exact same purpose. Everybody's purpose is unique. And with that in mind, think about it. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. And for the most part, life is pretty short. And it's time to quit second-guessing yourself. Stop second-guessing yourself. It never helped anybody, right? It just keeps us in like this inability to act. We're scared to take the next step, or we're scared to make the next move because we're scared that we chose poorly, that we made the wrong decision. Well, you know what? Come up with that honest evaluation. Write it down. Think about it. Share it with your spouse. Think about it. Go through it. And guess what? I think that this is going to inspire you, and I think it's going to shine a lot of sunlight into your life where you know exactly your next step and how to get there. No more second-guessing yourselves because you really know inside what you want to do. I have a great podcast for you coming up soon. I'm really enjoying doing the podcasting, and I love it. And I'm glad that you tuned in to listen to this show. You can get more information about me on ashleyburgess.com, Ashley, BERGES.com. My Twitter handle is @AshleyBurgess. Any questions, comments, or thoughts you have on this show, hashtag LYTL. That's short for Live Your True Life, LYTL. I want to hear from you. You can also check out AshleyBurgessNetwork.com, AshleyBurgessNetwork.com. Check me out on Facebook, also on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on Facebook. Love to hear from you. And I'll have a great show for you coming up next week. And in the meantime, remember, it's not about all the societal pressures. It's not all about the parental pressures. It's about what's in our own mind. It's about the pressure we put on ourselves. Check that, regulate it, get stuff down on paper, and create the next step, because you know what? You know what you want to do. Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess. We'll be back this time. Well, be back this time in 3 shakes.